Be me, 44, tenured professor of gender studies at Liberal Arts College. Been teaching for 16 years, passionate about the work. Specialize in feminist theory and women's history. Known on campus as tough, but fair, demanding excellence. My classes are popular, always fill up quickly. Mostly female students, but always some men too. This semester, I have 32 students in my flagship course. Feminism and Social Justice in the 21st Century. 24 women and 8 men, typical ratio for my classes. The women are engaged, participatory, enthusiastic. Raise their hands, share perspectives, debate ideas. The men are different, always have been. Sit quietly in the back, take notes, rarely speak. Complete assignments, but don't engage in discussions. Tell myself it's because the material challenges them, makes them uncomfortable to examine their privilege. That's part of the learning process. Growth is uncomfortable. Friday afternoon, checking email before weekend. See a message from unfamiliar email address. Subject line, from your male students, please read. Open it. See it's a joint email from all 8 men. They've CC'd each other, sent it together. Feel immediate defensiveness, this can't be good. Start reading. Each paragraph is from different student. They're taking turns, all contributing their perspective. Professor Chun, we're writing this together because individually we've been dismissed. We've tried to raise concerns, been told we're being defensive. So we're presenting this collectively, hoping you'll listen. Already feeling attacked, but keep reading. First student, Michael, junior studying sociology. Your class is titled Feminism and Social Justice. But it feels more like why men are the problem. Every lecture, every reading, every discussion focuses on what men do wrong, how men cause harm, never on how to build equity or actual solutions. That's not fair. I present complex theory. Second student, James, senior in political science. You call on women students 3 to 4 times more than men. We've tracked it over 6 weeks of classes. When women speak, you engage and expand on their points. When men speak, you challenge and question their perspectives. I challenge everyone equally, that's teaching. Third student, David, sophomore, undecided major. You assign an essay on understanding your privilege. All the men received lower grades than women, even when our arguments were well-researched and structured. We compared papers, same quality, different grades. Grading is based on understanding, not just structure. Fourth student, Carlos, junior in philosophy. In our discussion on domestic labor last month, I shared that my dad does all the cooking and cleaning. My mom works, he stays home with my siblings. You said that's an exception that proves the rule. Then moved on without acknowledging it further. Statistical outliers don't disprove broader patterns. Fifth student, Ryan, senior in English. You use masculine pronouns when discussing negative examples. When someone refuses to see his privilege. When a person uses his power to dominate. But use feminine pronouns for positive examples. When she challenges the status quo. When a woman finds her voice. That's just reflecting reality of power structures. Sixth student, Tom, junior in history. You showed a documentary about toxic masculinity, listed traditional male traits as harmful, stoicism, competitiveness, emotional restraint. But those traits helped my grandfather survive Vietnam, helped my dad build a business that supports our family. They're not toxic, they're survival skills and virtues. Context matters, but the framework is still valid. Seventh student, Kevin, sophomore in psychology. Our midterm had a question about patriarchy. I argued that modern America has moved beyond strict patriarchy, cited women in leadership, legal equality, educational achievement. You wrote fundamentally misunderstand systemic oppression and gave me a C. My roommate wrote patriarchy is all-encompassing and unchanged. She got an A and you wrote excellent analysis. His answer showed lack of understanding of systems. Eighth student, Marcus, senior in economics. You require us to cite feminist scholars exclusively. when I cited a male academic's research on gender. You said it was centering male voices and didn't count it, but the research was peer-reviewed and relevant. You're excluding half of academic thought based on gender. Feminist scholarship needs to be centered in feminist classes. Then they write together, collective voice. We're not writing this to attack you or feminism. We're writing because we feel silenced and judged. We entered your class wanting to learn and engage, but we leave every session feeling blamed and diminished. The accusations sting, feel unfair and exaggerated. They continue as a group. We've stopped participating because participation is punished. When we share perspectives, we're told we're being defensive. When we ask questions, we're told we're derailing. When we cite research, we're told we're mansplaining. That's not accurate. I encourage all voices. More collective paragraphs. We support gender equality, genuinely support it. We have mothers, sisters, girlfriends, friends we care about. We want women to have opportunities and respect. But your class doesn't teach equality. It teaches that being male means being the problem. They're missing the systemic analysis. We're planning to drop your class after this semester. All 8 of us, together, we've decided. Not because the material is challenging, but because the environment is hostile to male students. Feel panic rising, losing all my male students. We're giving you this feedback hoping you'll consider it. Hoping future male students will have different experience, where they can engage without being predetermined as the enemy, where their perspectives are valued, not just challenged, where they're seen as individuals, not as representatives of patriarchy. The email ends with all 8 names signed. Sit staring at my screen for 20 minutes. Initial reaction is defensive anger. They don't understand, they're resistant to learning. This is exactly the kind of fragility I teach about, but something nags at me, won't let me dismiss it. 8 students independently agreeing. Taking time to write this together. Risking my reaction, my grading, everything. They must really feel strongly about this. Spend the weekend unable to stop thinking about it. Pull up my grade book, look at the pattern. Women's average grade in my class, B+. Men's average grade in my class, B-. Could be performance difference, could be bias. Look at specific assignments they mentioned. The privilege essay, compare men's and women's papers. Find Michael's essay, well-written, thoroughly researched. He argues that privilege is complex and intersectional. That class and race intersect with gender. That reducing everything to gender misses nuance. I gave him AB-, wrote, needs deeper engagement with feminist theory. Find Sarah's essay on same topic. She argues that male privilege is universal and primary, that all other oppressions flow from patriarchy. Less research, more assertion than argument. I gave her an A-, wrote, excellent understanding of core concepts. Sit with this uncomfortable realization. Pull up my class participation notes. Track how many times I call on each student. Michael is right. I call on women 3 to 4 times more. When men speak, my notes show more challenging questions. When women speak, more affirmation and expansion. Look at my discussion questions, my framing. How do men maintain power in modern relationships? What tactics do men use to silence women? How does masculinity harm both women and men? Every question frames men as the problem. Never, how can we build equitable partnerships? Never, what role can men play in advancing equality? Always about what's wrong, never about building solutions. Monday morning, sit in my office before class, staring at the syllabus I've taught for 10 years, seeing it through their eyes for first time. Every reading is by a woman scholar. Every example of oppression centers women's experience. Every discussion of solutions excludes men's participation. The men in my class aren't learning partners. They're case studies of problematic behavior, representatives of a system, not individuals. Class starts in 30 minutes, have to decide something. Can dismiss the email as male fragility. Continue teaching as I always have, maintain standards. Or can actually listen, actually consider their perspective. Decide to do something I've never done. Start class by acknowledging the email. I received feedback from some students this weekend about how this class feels to them. I want to address it openly and honestly. The 8 men look shocked. Women look confused. I was told that male students feel targeted in this class, that the environment feels hostile rather than educational, that their perspectives are dismissed rather than engaged. The women start to protest. I raise my hand. I want us to sit with this feedback today. Not dismiss it, not debate it, just hear it. Can the men in this class share their honest experience? Long, uncomfortable silence. No one wants to speak first. Finally, Michael raises his hand tentatively. It's hard to engage when we're always the villains of the story. Every discussion positions men as the problem. Makes it feel like being male is inherently wrong. Some women start to argue. I ask them to wait. What would help? What would make this space better? James speaks up, voice shaking slightly. Maybe frame discussions around solutions, not just blame. Maybe include perspectives on how to build equality, not just documenting how men have failed. David adds his perspective, and maybe grade our arguments on their merit, not on whether they align with specific feminist conclusions. Let us engage with the theory critically, not just accept it. The women are getting uncomfortable now. One of my star students, Emma, speaks up, but we need to name the problem before we can solve it. And the problem is patriarchy, which is maintained by men. Carlos responds carefully. But I didn't create patriarchy. I was born into this system. Same as you were born into it. Can't we learn how to change it without personal blame? The discussion continues, tense but honest. The men sharing experiences I never acknowledged. The women defending the framework I've taught them. Me sitting with the discomfort of maybe being wrong. After class, ask the 8 men to stay. They look nervous, probably expecting retaliation. Thank you for the email, for your honesty. I've been thinking about it all weekend. They're surprised, expected defensiveness. I looked at my grading, my participation patterns. I looked at how I frame discussions and questions, and I think you're right about some things. Michael looks shocked. Really? Really, I've been teaching this class for 10 years. Never questioned whether my approach might be problematic. Never considered how it feels to be a male student here. Marcus speaks carefully. We're not against feminism or gender equality. We just want to be part of the conversation, not automatically the enemy. Exactly what they wrote in the email. Can you help me understand what would work better? How to teach this material without making you feel targeted. They look at each other, conferring silently. Tom speaks first. Maybe include male scholars who study gender. Show that men can contribute to understanding equality. Kevin adds, frame masculinity with nuance. Not all traditionally male traits are toxic. Some are valuable, just need to be balanced. Ryan suggests, grade based on critical thinking, not on whether we agree with specific conclusions. Let us engage with theory, even disagree respectfully. David brings up representation. Maybe invite male speakers who work on equality. Show that men can be allies without being the enemy. They're not asking me to abandon feminist theory, just to teach it in a way that includes rather than excludes. Spend the next week completely overhauling my syllabus. Add readings by male feminist scholars. Include research on positive masculinity. Reframe discussion questions around solutions. Change grading rubric to reward critical engagement, not just agreement with my perspective. Next class session, present the changes. I've revised our syllabus based on student feedback. We're going to approach the remaining material differently. Walk through the changes, the new framing. The men look hopeful. The women look confused. Emma raises her hand. Are we watering down the curriculum, catering to male comfort over women's truth? The question I expected, the resistance I understand. No, we're making it more intellectually rigorous by allowing space for critical engagement, by examining multiple perspectives on gender, by building solutions, not just documenting problems. Another female student, Ashley, challenges. But men already have all the voices, all the power. Why do we need to include them more in feminist spaces? Before I can answer, Marcus speaks up. I don't have power. I'm a 22-year-old student. I'm trying to learn, trying to understand. But I can't learn if I'm only here to be blamed. The dialogue that follows is uncomfortable but necessary. Women expressing fear of centering men again. Men expressing frustration at being prejudged. Me trying to facilitate without dictating conclusions. Over the next few weeks, class dynamic shifts. Men participate more, share perspectives more freely. Women engage with their ideas instead of dismissing them. Discussions become richer, more complex, more honest. My grading changes too, become more objective. Looking at argument quality, not just ideological alignment. The men's grades improve to match the women's. Not because I'm being easier, because I'm being fairer. Month after the email, Michael comes to office hours. I wanted to thank you for listening, for actually changing things instead of getting defensive. Feel grateful and ashamed simultaneously. I should have seen it sooner, should have been more aware. He's generous. It's hard to see our own biases, especially when they're dressed up as justice. The observation is wise beyond his years. Are you still planning to drop the class? He shakes his head. None of us are now. We're actually engaged, actually learning. Feel like our perspectives matter. End of semester course evaluations come back. Highest rated semester I've ever had, from both male and female students. Comments mention intellectual rigor and fairness. Both groups feeling challenged but not attacked. Both groups feeling heard and valued. My department chair calls me in. Your evaluations are exceptional this semester. What changed? What did you do differently? Tell her about the email, the changes I made. About including male voices, grading more objectively. About framing toward solutions, not just problems. She's skeptical. Sounds like you capitulated to male comfort. Did you compromise the feminist framework? This is the question I've been asking myself. I made it more intellectually honest by allowing students to engage critically, by including diverse perspectives on gender, by examining masculinity with nuance, not just criticism. She's not convinced, thinks I've gone soft, but the results speak for themselves. Students are more engaged, learning more deeply. Men aren't disappearing from gender studies. They're participating, contributing, growing. Next semester, I teach the revised curriculum again. This time enrollment includes 12 men instead of 8. Word has spread that my class is actually educational, not just indoctrination or blame sessions. The men come ready to engage, not just endure. The women come ready to think critically, not just accept predetermined conclusions. First day, set the tone differently. This class is about understanding gender systems, how they developed, how they function, how they harm all of us, and how we can build more equitable alternatives. Emphasize the all of us and build alternatives. We'll examine feminism and masculinity with nuance. We'll include multiple perspectives and approaches. We'll grade on critical thinking, not ideological purity. Can feel the difference in the room. No one is defensive. Everyone is curious. Year later, I'm completely different professor. Still teaching feminist theory, still believing in equality, but approaching it with intellectual humility. Recognizing that excluding half of humanity doesn't advance equality, just shifts oppression. My classes are now known as the best in department. Challenging but fair, rigorous but inclusive. Students debate ideas instead of repeating dogma. Both men and women leave as better thinkers. Run into Michael on campus, he's graduating. Your class changed my whole perspective. Made me want to work on gender equality, but in a way that includes everyone. Feel proud and humbled. You changed my perspective too, by having courage to speak up, by not just accepting how things were. He smiles. That's what you taught us, to challenge systems that don't work, even when those systems are in feminist classrooms. The irony isn't lost on either of us. TFW, you get email from all your male students together. TFW, they explain why they're dropping your class. TFW, you treated them as the enemy by default. TFW, you graded based on ideology, not argument quality. TFW, you called on women 3 to 4 times more than men. TFW, every discussion framed men as the problem. TFW, you excluded male scholars from feminist curriculum. TFW, 8 students forced you to see your bias. TFW, changing your approach improved everyone's learning. TFW, intellectual honesty beat ideological purity. Still believe in feminism and gender equality. Still teach feminist theory and women's history. Still think examining power structures matters. But now understand that includes examining all of it, including how feminist spaces can become exclusionary, including how progressive ideology can become dogma, including how fighting for justice can create injustice. 8 male students taught me that. By collectively speaking up when individually dismissed. By risking grades and retaliation to demand fairness. By refusing to be scapegoats for systemic problems. They didn't reject feminism, they rejected bias. Didn't reject equality, they rejected blame. Didn't reject learning, they rejected indoctrination. That distinction matters enormously. And I was missing it for 16 years. Thinking I was educating, really alienating. Thinking I was empowering, really excluding. Thinking I was advancing justice, really just shifting targets. Now I teach differently, better. Include all voices, all perspectives. Grade on merit, not agreement. Frame toward solutions, not just blame. Build spaces where everyone can engage. Not just people who already agree with me. That's what education should be. What my classroom finally became. After 8 students forced me to see it. With one collective email. That changed everything. For them, for me, for all future students. Who will learn to think critically about gender. Instead of just accepting what they're told. That's the real feminist pedagogy. The one I should have practiced all along. Better at 44 than never. Better learning than staying certain. Better inclusion than ideology. That's what I teach now. What those 8 men taught me to teach. And I'm grateful they had the courage to speak up, to push back, to demand better from their professor, who thought she was already doing her best, but was really just reinforcing different bias with the same confidence and same blindness that I criticized in others while practicing it myself. That's the lesson I needed, that they gave me by refusing to stay silent. In a class that was supposed to liberate them, but was really just teaching them that some voices matter more than others, based on gender, just from different direction, than the patriarchy I was critiquing. Same problem, different packaging. Same harm, different targets. Same injustice, different ideology. Now I know better. Now I teach better. Now everyone learns better. Thanks to 8 students who demanded I practice what I preach. About listening to marginalized voices, even when those voices challenge my assumptions, even when those voices are male students, in a feminist classroom, where they should have been welcome, but felt like the enemy, until they made me see what I couldn't see before, my own bias disguised as justice, my own exclusion disguised as inclusion, my own certainty disguised as education. That's what they revealed, what I finally understood. What I finally changed. And everyone is better for it.